إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته and welcome to our Fiqh Hour, the last Fiqh Hour of Ramadan, as by this weekend inshallah will be Eid, if not sooner, for some who have already declared, talking about that. This is why we always say you need checks and balances when it comes to moon sighting. So for example, we've heard that the Supreme Court of Afghanistan has declared a positive sighting today, which means their Eid will be tomorrow. So those who are advocates of global sighting, really they should be celebrating the Eid tomorrow, which I very much doubt they will be. And therefore, so that's one issue. Second issue is, unfortunately, they sighted what they believe to be the moon before conjunction. And for those of us who don't understand what that means, it means that the moon has not even been born yet. So how can you see the moon before it's been born? And these are errors which can happen. Again, I've mentioned on many platforms. And this is not because people are intentionally trying to fool people out of a fast. This is not because people are intentionally trying to deceive or lie or anything of that nature. This is a genuine error. There's so many things in the sky. There's so many things to look out for in the sky that it's a genuine error that a person could make. So khair, it is what it is. That's been declared. Obviously, Saudi had no choice but to declare because of the fact that their 30 days will be up. So they claimed a negative sighting tonight, which means the Friday will have to be Eid. As for those who have been following sound sighting, then we will, inshallah, tomorrow evening be making every effort to see if we can sight the moon locally and regionally. If that comes back as positive, then obviously we will have Eid on Friday. If it comes back negative, then it will be Eid on Saturday. For that reason, after conferring with my colleagues, we will be having a live feed from around 7 p.m. Tomorrow, inshallah. If we have time, obviously, we'll do the guidance for the guided in the evening, which hopefully we will. But primarily the focus will be at that 7 o'clock till possibly about 8:30, maybe even a little bit longer, in trying to determine any witnesses that can come forward to say they've sighted, and also then decide on how we're going to do things. Okay, that said, we've got a number of questions that we need to deal with, which we'll answer. So even though my esteemed colleague thought there may be some time for guidance for the guided, that's not the plan for this evening. The plan for this evening is to concentrate on the on the questions for the Fiqh Hour, and then tomorrow, inshallah, the plan is to complete the remaining 2 rukus after the Hilal section, inshallah. But I can already tell, in the last week, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, already the Ramadan vibe is going. Unfortunately, the masajids aren't as full as they used to be. People are less kind of engaging, unfortunately. And also, this is also a telltale sign by the number of questions that we get or don't get as we go on. But our job is to pass the message on, which is what we will do, inshallah. So let's pick up some questions. We had some interesting questions come on the ladies group. Okay, one which is about the Prophet ﷺ saying that when you see a red column coming from the direction of the east, in the month of Ramadan, then store up the food for your year, for it will be a year of hunger. And the sister's asking, especially with the current climate, how do we interpret that? So we'll come back to that. Let's go to the chaps group first, tackle what we have on the chaps group, and then inshallah we can finish off on the ladies group. Usually it's the chaps we do before the ladies, but this time we're going to do it the other way around. Let me scroll up. It has been some time since we had a Fiqh Hour because I was away last week. Seafood. That was from the ladies Q&A. Okay. Yes, some of these questions might be time sensitive, so I apologize for that, but there's nothing I can do about it. We've posted a lot, mashallah, over this year, haven't we? Oh, not over this year, rather, but over this month. Okay, so I think this is the earliest question. Okay. The earliest question is, if I'm mistaken, please do let me know. Assalamu alaikum salam. Inshallah, hope you're well. Alhamdulillah, all is good. What is the ruling on sajda tilawa for imams, especially when they're leading Taraweeh Salah in Ramadan? Scenarios. What is the status of sajda tilawa in fard, wajib, sun? Is it fard, wajib, or sunnah? So according to the Hanafi position, it is wajib for sajda tilawa. If a sajda is not done when the sajda salah is prayed, does a sajda sawa suffice? No, it doesn't, because one needs to perform a sajda at that time. If a sajda is missed as well as the sajda sawa, does this render the 2 rakats as invalid or valid? The salah is still valid. If the 2 rakats are valid, do you recommend that in the next set of rakats, the sajda sawa is repeated at the beginning and the sajda carried out before carrying out the next portion of recitation for complete best practice? No, because the recitation, the sajda is due at the time of recitation, and if you omit it, then it's just omitted. One should seek refuge from Allah, and that should suffice. If a sajda ayah is prayed incorrectly, but the imam goes into sajda without it being rectified, when the mistake is rectified in the next set of rakats, does the sajda need to be repeated in the next unit of rakats by the next imam? Yes, the sajda will need to be repeated. Moving on. Assalamu alaikum, sir. I hope you're well. Alhamdulillah, wa alaikum salam. I'm good. I pray that likewise, and that Ramadan is going well. It is, and it is nearly finishing. I have a question regarding my zakat. I sold my house and received the funds in my account on the 1st of April 2025. After searching for a new house, by the grace of Allah, we found one, and our offer was accepted on the 13th of February. I sold my house on the 1st of April, 2025. My apologies, because I thought we'd gone back in time. That's last year. So I sold my house last year on the 1st of April, and then 13th of February this year, we found one and our offer was accepted. We are currently in the process of completing the purchase. I normally calculate and pay my zakat from Ramadan to Ramadan. My question is zakat due on the money currently in my account that is intended for purchasing the house, or would this amount be exempt since it is allocated for the property purchase? Some people have advised that it's safer to pay the zakat, just to be cautious, but I would appreciate clear guidance on whether zakat is actually due on it or not. Jazakallah in advance for taking the time to answer my question. Barakallah feek. So in this case, what would happen is that if the sale is complete and there is no way you can escape out of the sale, and in essence, that money is now a debt, then there's no zakat due on it. If, on the other hand, you can still get out of the arrangement, meaning it's not binding, then zakat is due upon it. Usually this happens at the time of completion. So when completion is done, okay, now there's no kind of escaping out of it. Otherwise, even literally up to the point of completion, you can backtrack and not allow the sale to go ahead. There's a mother who applied with a charity to get money for her daughters, but she doesn't spend the money in her daughters and is using it for other matters. Is it halal for the daughters to take the money behind their mother's back for their own needs? I can't advise that position for the daughters to steal basically money from the mother. If these daughters are grown women, then they should apply themselves. Why are they getting their mother to apply? If they're young girls, which it sounds like they are, meaning they're not baligha, then really we shouldn't be encouraging children to steal their mother's money. So I would say no. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Hope all is well and in the best of iman and health. Alhamdulillah, all is good. Jazakallah khair. Likewise for yourself. Is Eid likely to be on Friday, granted moon sighting, as it's my first time following UK sighting? There is a remote possibility, or a possibility it could be Friday. We require good, clear skies, no cloud, and then we require people who've got some experience in sighting to be able to originally sight it with the binoculars or telescope, and then track it. And once they've sighted it, then obviously they need to make a unassisted sighting. Currently, with our criteria is unassisted sighting. So find it, locate it, and let me just show you an image that will help you. So I don't know how well you can see that. I'll hold it up to the camera. Oh, it automatically reverses it. Excellent camera. I thought you'd have to read it upside down. So you can see where the sunset is. And, it gives you an idea where Venus is. So it says it shows where it is. And it shows also the age of the moon before it sets. Okay, that's not going to help you. All right, so you can see that there clearly. Gives you a rough idea where to look for the moon after 20 minutes. The moon should be on the UK horizon for about an hour. Okay, so there's a good chance it can be seen. As I said, we're hoping for good weather, and we're hoping for so I hope you've got that there. Okay, I don't know, you can share images on, hold on, let me see this. Oh, you can share screen, subhanallah. I didn't know you could do that, Let me try it. I did not know you could do that. Okay, because I got so excited now, I've pressed every single button when I should be pressing this button. Okay, so let me see if this can come up. Syncing with iCloud has been paused. Okay, that's not very helpful. Just when I thought it would be helpful, it's not helpful. So it's frozen at the moment. Let me see if I can unfreeze it. That's why my hard drive is virtually full on my laptop. That be the problem. The big problem is my documents. I've got 60 gigabytes of docs, photos. Okay. That's why I need to delete things off my laptop. What a time to have to delete things off my laptop. If only I could. How do you refresh this? I don't know how to refresh it. Let me delete this. Delete. Anyway, it's unfortunate because right now the image I can't refresh, unfortunately. All right, so let's get back to the streaming. Okay, I can't refresh, unfortunately. So let's leave that for now. But you saw the image, I held it up for you. Okay. Next question. That's done. That's done. There you go. Salam Shuyukh. Question. Our Hafiz led 3 rakats of Taraweeh. Does that need to be repeated? Does a portion of the Quran need to be repeated in order to complete the Khatm al-Quran? I assume we would have to repeat as the Qāḍī after the second was completely missed, which was Fard. No sajda sahw was done. Yeah, if there's all these omitted, then yes, I would suggest that you repeat it. But like I said, this came a few days ago. My apologies. I'm only picking it up now. So a bit late. Some questions. We had obviously a sisters Q&A in Walthamstow, Masjid Umar. And some questions I couldn't answer, even though we were answering questions for a good 45 minutes. You can find the video on our YouTube channel. So some of the questions have come here. If you make wudu, then wear a scarf cap and a scarf. Then for the next wudu, can you make masa over the scarf as nothing has touched your hair, especially if there are time constraints? No, there are no possibility to make wudu or to wipe the scarf. Okay, so there's no permissibility to wipe the scarf. So unfortunately, no, you cannot do that. Assalamu alaikum. How to dispose of an old musalla? Well, an old musalla generally does not have ayats of the Quran written on it or anything like that whatsoever. So it's just like any other piece of material. One can dispose of it in any normal way. I'm a single parent of 3 sons, alhamdulillah. I live around the corner from the masjid, but my sons are deprived from any activities in the mosque to go to, as there is nothing. The mosque once in a blue moon will do a bayan, I have to force and convince my son to go to other mosques as nearby mosque is not doing, i.e. Fajr nights. They are not compelled to go to mosque as there is nothing for them to do. No Arabic courses, no Saturday mosque, no youth programs, no Ta'lim classes for sisters or Alimiyah classes. Plus the mosque is closed for me to attend as I cannot drag them with me. Well, I don't know. There doesn't seem to be a question there. So I'll try to make a question out of it and answer it. Yes, of course, masajid should try their utmost to facilitate for the young and therefore that people can make benefit from it. So yes, that's what I can say. I don't know what else to say. I've been raising boys on my own and divorced now. The dad is not present and been absent even in marriage. What are his duties to his sons? Does he pay for the house that we live in also? And then they reach puberty, does his duty stop? And does he have to pay for my maintenance until I get married again? He's moved on with his life and has a child now. So no, he does not need to cover any costs for his ex-wife. Once the divorce is complete and the iddah is complete, she has no link with him whatsoever. Yes, he will continue to provide for his sons until they reach bulugh. Once they reach bulugh, then they would necessarily start to provide for themselves. However, obviously, he could request his sons to live with him, meaning move in with him, so that he can provide for them. If they choose not to move in with him, then he's not obliged to provide for them. So, for example, if he's got his own house and he says to his sons, come live with me, and they say, no, we'll live with mum, then they cannot say, but we want you to provide for us, because he can say, I can't afford to cover the bills of 2 houses. You move in with me and I'll cover the bills here. So his duty is only to them if they move in with him. If they don't move in with him, then there's no duty upon him if they've refused to move in with him. If he's not made the offer for them to move in with him, then obviously he should provide for them. My daughter is currently doing hifz, enjoying learning and isn't finding it difficult. However, each month her menstruation cycle is for 10 days and she has to stop learning and use her new sabak. What can she do as she feels very unmotivated during this time? And as she's not praying for 10 days, she finds she forgets a lot of what she has learned. Can you advise what she can do? Can she use a phone to recite? And that's unfortunately the issue with young girls or women becoming memorizers of the Quran, because of this very fact that for extensive periods, they don't actually have chance to memorize it, and then things get forgotten. So that she can only strive as best as she can. There is a requirement for male hafiz of Quran because they lead the prayers. Women tend not to lead the prayers, so there's less a burden on a woman to become a hafiza. This is just a personal pursuit in memorizing the Quran, so she can only do as best as she can, inshallah. If a person comes late for Isha Salah and misses all the rakats, I'm assuming of Isha Salah, and the Taraweeh started, can he join the Taraweeh and then finish his Isha after the 2 rakats of Taraweeh? It's better for him to do the Isha Salah first and then join the Taraweeh. If he works out roughly where the Muqtadis are, he can also do those Taraweeh, because his Taraweeh are going to be considerably faster than the ones behind the Imam. So he can kind of get ahead. So if they're on, the 3rd rakat or 4th rakat or 5th rakat, then he knows he needs to get to at least the 8th rakat. When he gets there, he'll probably catch up with the Imam and then he can join the Imam. That is the better position. Assalamu alaikum Ustaz. I hope you're doing well and in the state of high iman. Wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, I am. Jazakumullah khair for asking. Is it permissible to eat all kind of seafood like shrimps and so on? And are some seafood makruh to eat or haram? I hope you can answer it in the next fiqh hour, inshallah. Wa alaikum salam. I'm doing exactly that. So according to the Ahnaf, it is only samak, fish. And remember, if you listen to a guidance for the guided not so long ago, you would have heard me say that this is, they were not marine biologists with the fuqaha. So it's not as though they cut open a fish and determine that, oh, this is what a fish is by biological definition. Anything which has, this type of attributes is a fish. They'll physically, remember the science of the day was to physically look at something. So they would look at the fish and they would say, right, okay, this is what we determined to be the fish. Once they determined that to be the fish, anything which resembled that, they considered to be fish. Anything which did not resemble that, they did not consider to be fish. So when they saw crustaceans like a crab, they said, well, that's not a fish. When they saw like lobsters, they said, that's not a fish. When they saw prawns, they said, that's not a fish. When they saw squid, octopus, eels, all of these things, they said they're not fish because they defined what a fish was. And a fish was this kind of creature which had a tail, maybe had a fin, and had gills, and it looked like a fish. Like when you're at primary school and your teacher asks you to draw a fish, you draw a standard fish. So that's what their definition was, a fish. And fish was because it had flesh, meaning if you cooked fish, it was like chicken, or it was like meat. It had flesh. Hence the reason why it was like the chicken of the sea, or it was like the lamb of the sea, and hence the reason why it was permissible. The other madhahibs are more inclusive, and they include things like prawn and other things as well, because they feel that that's also comes in the definition of what Allah SWT made permissible from the sea. So they're more inclusive. The Ahnaf are exclusive. So I hope that's clear for you. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're well. I started my Ramadan with Wifaq in the UK, and now I'm in Medina till after Eid. What should I do? Jazakallah khair. Hope to hear answer as soon as possible. Well, I hope this is coming at a good time. If you're going to stay in Medina till after Eid, then you would celebrate Eid where you are, because you are in that country, and you would go by that country because you are the jurisdiction of the Muftis is in that country. So abide by that position that they give you. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Just a clarification for regarding praying sitting down on the floor. You mentioned that there is no sajda for a person who is praying sitting down on the ground, as sajda can only be made from a standing position. But why are we allowed to make sajda from a sitting position for sajda sahwa and sajda tilawa? And one can argue the second sajda in the rak'ah is from a sitting position too, if sajda is only made from a standing position. Yeah, so you may have seen, one of the questions that we got, which I gave a detailed answer to, because it's unfortunately pandemic. It's everywhere in all the masajids of praying on a chair. And I mentioned obviously about the methodology of praying on a chair, and obviously the sunnah being to pray seated down. And the question that was risen, that came from there was, okay, and I intentionally, if you notice in that video, I quoted from the books of fiqh, more to substantiate the position that I was sharing with you. So I wasn't sharing anything that was, from my own pocket or from my own hat. It was, from the books of fiqh that I was sharing with you. In there, the Imam Ibn Abidin in particular, rahimahullah ta'ala, was making it clear that sajda is the true aspect of that rak'ah. So the purpose of that rak'ah is sajda. Okay. The purpose of that rak'ah is sajda. And therefore, the reason why we stand is really that's his purpose. So that's his own interpretation, we can say. So his interpretation, Imam Ibn Abidin's interpretation, is that he doesn't just use his own position. He cites many of the fuqaha as to why that is, and you need to go back to that video in order to answer that. Yes, I have seen them. Don't worry, we're going to get onto the sisters later, inshallah. We're just doing the chaps now. So therefore, that was the position that was adopted by Imam Ibn Abidin. In answering your question, so this is now just my analysis, okay? This is just my analysis because I've not looked into what the books of fiqh say about it in terms of analyzing what the ulama have said in their interpretation of why a sajda is not relevant. Firstly, when you're making sajda tilawa, you're making it from a standing position, right? Because when you're reciting, you're doing qira'ah in a standing position. So when you're doing sajda tilawa in salah, it's always from a standing position. So that's number one. It is when it's outside of salah, okay, you can do it it's preferred to do it from a standing position, but like the chap says, it's also permissible to do it from a seating position, right? But that's not in salah. Okay, that's not in salah. Its purpose is not to glorify Allah, not to do ta'zeem of Allah. Its purpose is that you've recited a sajda, you've recited a verse of the Quran in which either there's an advocation of making prostration, or there is a mention of a people who don't prostrate. So in order to go against them, we prostrate. So that's number one. And when we do it outside of salah, okay, that's the difference. It's outside of salah. The next one is sajda sahwa. Okay, sajda sahwa again is not necessarily a sajda of veneration. It's not a sajda of glorification. It's not a sajda of ta'zim. It's a sajda of forgetfulness. Okay, it's a sajda of forgetfulness that we have made an error. And again, because we've made an error, And because we're already in a seated position as we're finishing the salah, right? That's why we remain in a seated position, like even for the sajda tilawa, that you prefer to start from a standing position. But if you've got like 4 or 5 sajda tilawa to make, then you can stay seated and finish the other ones off, which also ties into the second sajda of salah. That, because you've made the position from a standing position, you've made sajda, okay, you made ruku, you made sajda. Now, obviously, you can't go back to stand up again, and then because now that standing is always determined as the start of another rak'ah. So that's where the confusion is going to come in. That, have we now started another rak'ah? So that's my interpretation, as I said, and my understanding. Hope that's brought some clarity to you. Is life insurance permissible? If not, is it due to specific business practices like profits coming from interest-based transaction, or is it a blanket prohibition? Has there been a fiqh in the last 11 days? Subhanallah, and this chap is my student as well. Allahu Akbar Kabira. Why are you following? Follow the post, my brother. Follow the post. So life insurance, and he's an al-Balagh student as well. So al-Balagh did deliver, and I delivered it on Takaful Insurance, a full lecture series on this. So please, you should have subscribed to that. Please do subscribe to it. But for now, I'll just give you a mukhtasar. Yes, insurance is permissible. However, the methodologies that are used are impermissible. So if a permissible one method could be found, like takaful or its equivalent, then that would be absolutely fine. Has there been a fiqh in the last 11 days? You should subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then you won't need to ask those questions. Laylatul Qadr, supporting lives through the charity. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Is it possible to get the link for the female chat? That link was shared. So we do have a sisters group as well. For those who don't know, fiqh hour that went out today. Another question. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. Is it permissible for a man to work tutoring primary school children online to prepare them for entrance exams to competitive secondary schools? So generally speaking, yes, it's permissible. Number 2, student groups are mixed gender. Since the students are young, aged 9 to 10, 11 max, they all, boys and girls, have their cameras on so that the tutor can make sure they're paying attention. Students may sometimes talk to each other, such as during any break, although this is preventable if it is a problem. Female students are only taught as part of a group. Both Muslims and non-Muslims are tutored. My first concern is whether the tutoring itself is considered assisting in sin, since non-Islamic schools in a non-Muslim country are not a good environment and one would be helping the students to go there. No, that would not be considered as assisting in sin. One can educate anybody in order to improve their understanding of things. So that's not an issue. The most clear example would be that sometimes parents select a competitive school as a first choice and an Islamic school as a second choice. However, one would be helping the students attend the school in other cases as well. My second concern is whether gender interactions are permissible. Of course, when they are baligh and baligha, then you need to limit, okay? You need to limit how, there is any gender interactions. And if it's your environment that you're controlling, then you need to be a little bit careful about it. Boys do not reach bulugh by 11, usually, okay? It's very rare. Girls may reach bulugh by 11. There's a relatively good chance. So that's one thing you have to be concerned about. And that's that. Let's go across to the ladies group. Can we donate interest money from the bank to donate for Waterwell? So we're not donating. We can't donate interest money because interest money is haram. So we're giving the interest money away. The interest money should be primarily given to a charity labeled as interest money. And then that charity can, if they've got the good Sharia governance, then they will ensure it goes to the right place. So 2 questions. I'll start with the last question first and then do the first question last. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I wanted to ask a question for today's fiqh hour, which you are doing. Nowadays, wars happen due to land, possessions, and revenge. Is it allowed to take part in the army, Muslim country or Muslim army? Secondly, if you die in the war, are you considered a shaheed? So yes, a person may join a national army, whether it's Muslim or otherwise, because the second question comes. Secondly, is it allowed for Muslims to take part in non-Muslim armies? The British Muslims and Indian Muslims in India. And if they die during the war in their mission, are they considered shaheed? So if these battles or these wars are oppressive wars, or there to, take people's possessions or attack people or all this, then of course that person cannot be considered as a shaheed. If on the other hand it's a religious war, then that person can be considered as a shaheed. And also if this is a defensive war, meaning you are trying to protect the people, or you're trying to protect a group that's being attacked. Remember, shaheed primarily is religious vernacular, and it has to mean that it's got to be a religious war. So that's something to keep that in mind. However, there is a possibility that all these other groups can be included as well. Whilst praying Taraweeh behind a Maliki Imam, they didn't do sajda during Taraweeh when the ayah of sajda would come. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct, because according to the Maliki, it is not wajib. According to the Maliki, it is sunnah. Okay, so that's why they did not make sajda. Should I do sajdas at home? No, it's probably better to pray behind a Hanafi Imam. You just need to make istighfar and apologize for it. I have heard from someone that consuming a little amount of alcohol is allowed in Hanafi school. Is that true? No, it's not true. Jazakallah khair, may Allah bless you. I mean, there is obviously a view that nabidh tamar. Nabidh is something that is usually brought about by fermenting of dates in water, which can obviously be converted to an alcohol, and therefore that is usually consumed. But we have to be very careful that we don't let it reach to that point. So because of that, people say, the Ahnaf are quite relaxed. They say you can drink alcohol, whatever, whatever. There might be some positions which are within the old textbooks that do permit some kind of quantities, but the modern day contemporary ulama will tell you they are impermissible. Jazakallah khair, Mufti. What exactly should be kept in mind about the gender interactions for the tutor? Is it to find for the female student to have their cameras on? It depends. Obviously, I don't know if your female students cover their hair, don't cover their hair. Obviously, non-Muslims won't cover their hair. The Sharia does not apply to them. The Sharia only applies to the Muslim students. So you would be encouraging them to make sure that they cover their hair. Beforehand, as I said, I don't know where you work and how you operate. So therefore, it would be a case of just minimizing people talking to one another. And, if this are all possible, maybe delivering these sessions in separate groups. Assalamu alaikum. When has Wifaqul Ulama announced Eid? Well, wa alaikum assalam. Wifaqul Ulama will only announce Eid when the moon is sighted. Today is the 28th. Tonight is the 29th of Ramadan, which means the 29th fast is tomorrow. So we don't look for the moon on this night. We look for the moon after the 29th fast. So tomorrow is the 29th fast. So after the 29th fast, we decide whether it's going to be the 30th fast or the 1st. We never look after the 28th fast, because we know after the 28th fast is the 29th fast. Has to be. Hope that makes sense for you. Assalamu alaikum. Is moon sighting in the UK likely on Thursday? Will sighting with optical aid be likely? If not in the UK, what about the partner countries? Wa alaikum salam. Yes, moon sighting in the UK, there's a possibility on Thursday. There is an increased possibility if optical aid is used. That goes without saying. Similarly, the partner countries also, there is a opportunity to sight the moon. Again, that opportunity is increased with the use of optical aid. However, Wifaqul Ulama's position is that it would only take a shahada statement of unassisted eyes, meaning those who aren't. So you can use optical aid to track the moon, find the moon, know where it is in the sky, and then move the optical aid and see if you can still see it. That's what the decision will be made upon. Okay, keep the questions coming in. I'm just going to deal with one more question from the sisters group, and then obviously we can wrap things up if there's no more questions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Esteemed Mufti Amjad, Jazakallah khair for your series, Guidance for the Guided. I have benefited and shared the gems with others. May Allah Azza wa Jal continue to preserve and protect you and your family. Ameen. And continue to bless you with sincerity as you keep us on the straight path. Barakallah fiqh, sister. What a beautiful dua. May Allah bless you and give you more than you have asked for me. With the current unstable climate, I was hoping, if time permitted, if you would provide some comment and reflection on a weak hadith that's circulating. The Prophet ﷺ said, when you see a red column coming from the direction of the east, brackets, Iran is to the east of the Hijaz, brackets close, in the month of Ramadan, then store up the food of the year for your year, for it will be a year of hunger. Reported by At-Tabarani from Ubadah ibn Arid, I think it says here. I don't know. Arir held. Maybe this is a typo. I think it's Ubadah ibn Samit. But it is also possible, but it just says Arir held. It is also possible that whenever it appears in any year, that year will be one of the year of famine. Jazakallah khair for your time. Barakallah feek. Okay. So let's I had some time to look at this, and there is a hadith, and the one I found was from Khalid ibn Ma'dan rahimullah, who is a tabi, in which he says, قال إذا رأيتم عمودا من نار من قبل المشرق في شهر رمضان في السماء فعدوا من الطعام ما استطعتم فإنها سنة الجوع. Okay, the Khalid ibn Ma'dan said, if you see a column of fire from the east in the month of Ramadan in the sky, then prepare as much food as you can, for it is going to be a year of starvation. Okay, a year of starvation. So this is a narration. This narration has slightly different wording, where the sister has mentioned it, which has been recorded by Imam Tabrani, as she correctly said, on the authority of Sayyidina Ubadah ibn Samit. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so there's a typo. The sister wrote Ubadah ibn Arir. So it's Ubadah ibn Samit radiyallahu anhu. It is a marfu hadith. A marfu hadith is when a marfu hadith is when a sahabi mentions it without attributing it to the Prophet ﷺ directly. And whenever it is a prophecy, and we know it's coming from a reliable sahabi, then we consider this to be marfu, meaning it is attributed to the Prophet ﷺ indirectly. This is mentioned in Al-Mu'jam al-Awsat, okay, hadith number 371. Many of the some muhaddithun have written that there are many supporting texts for this hadith, and some have even gone as far as to grade it hasan. So even if it's weak according to some, but because of the shawahid, the supporting narrations, it has a greater weighting, and as it says, some have even considered it to be hasan. So basically, what do we do from there? There's another narration whilst I was looking at this, which I'll bring to your attention as well. And it says, Fi Ramadan, ayatun fis sama ka'umudi sati. That in Ramadan, there will be a sign in the sky like a shining pillar. Wa fi Shawwal al-bala. And in Shawwal, there will be tribulation. Wa fil Qāḍī al-fana. And in Dhul Qa'dah, there will be destruction. So it seems as if whatever is going to go on is going to carry on for the next 3 to 6 months. And then it's going to lead to some big calamity. But I want to add a disclaimer in here that whenever it comes to the signs of Qiyamah, or whenever it comes to the end of days, then the hadith are genuinely ambiguous and nuanced. And it's only Allah knows exactly the meanings and knows exactly, obviously, the Prophet ﷺ when he was alive and what's going on. So we can't, take specific events and say this is exactly what's going on, like we're seeing in the world now. That does this refer to Iran? What we're seeing in Iran is, for the first time, there's been saber rattling for the last 40 odd years, nearly 50 years. As soon as the Iranian Revolution and the Islamic Republic was established in Iran in 1979 or whatever it was, there's always been talk about tackling Iran and attacking Iran, but it's never happened. And then in Ramadan, of all times, Iran gets attacked. So therefore, some people are saying, is it this in reference to that? And then one doesn't have to stretch the imagination too much, that now we're seeing, obviously, the Strait of Hormuz, which the Iranians are now going to block. And as a consequence, no oil will be able to transport through there, which will mean, obviously, we use oil in everything. What don't we use oil in? Energy prices are going to go up. Food costs are going to go up. Everything is going to go up, which then makes sense about, having food for a year, because the costs will be too high. So yes, it is a possible interpretation. But if we take the other narration as well, then it says that things get worse. That in Shawwal, there will be tribulation. And then in Dhul Qa'dah, which comes after, there will be destruction. Okay. There will be destruction. So yes, we can read into that and think that, there's a possibility that this is what it means. But in reality, at the end of the day, whatever it means, it's about us having a focus in in our own sort of pastimes and focusing on ourselves. Jazakallah khair for your answers. Is it allowed to open a savings account with a bank as it includes interest? Yes, one can open a savings account. All they do is every month or every 6 months or every year, they take out the interest and remove it, so that one can do that. But there'll be no benefit in opening a savings account, because primarily people open a savings account for the interest. So what would be the point? Stick to a current account. What is the reason for Wifaq al-Ulama not allowing optical assistance? Yes, we used to allow optical assistance, Wifaq al-Ulama. It was only last year where the debate started about how do you control the power of these optical instruments? How do you know what a person is using? Where is it permissible to use those? Where is it not permissible to use those? We're looking at something which can assist the eyes, but we don't want to get into a territory where a very small hilal, an exceptionally small hilal, is now being observed because somebody's got a super duper, telescope that can do that. And then you get this discrepancy. Of course, there's discrepancy in human eyesight. We get that. But at least with the human eyesight, it's natural. There's not going to be that much of a difference in human eyesight, apart from if you've got really bad eyesight. But, generally speaking, people are going to be pretty much, you're seeing a hilal in the sky, you're going to see a hilal in the sky. Okay. Whereas when it comes to, having a telescope, you're going to see something which is very, very small. And we also wanted to make it future-proof. Future-proof in the sense that, people's telescopes and binoculars are going to get better and better and better. Where are we going to be in 5 years from now? Where are we going to be from 10 years from now? So in order to make it future-proof, we said, well, human eyesight's always been the same, from 1,000 years ago to 1,400 years ago to 500 years ago. And it will probably be the same 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now. Okay, we might have, something, a chip in our eye with AI telling us what's going on around us. I guess that will change. But generally speaking, eyesight will be standard as well. So for that reason, they went on that approach. I think I've answered all the questions there. I've answered all the questions on the groups. So I'm just going to double check on the groups if there's nothing else. Ladies group, everything answered. Chaps group, everything answered. Okay. We'll just give another couple of minutes for people to ask questions on here before we wrap up. And as we're wrapping up, just a reminder, inshallah, tomorrow we'll have 2 sessions. Look at you. So about 7 p.m. rather, because we break fast at 6:30-ish. So let me break fast, inshallah. Once I've broken fast and had something to eat, of course. And then 7 p.m. we'll try to go live on our YouTube channel in order to see. I'll update you if there's been any statements before 7 p.m. If there haven't been any statements before 7 p.m., we will stay live for the hour and a half that we will be live, because at least in that hour and a half, you'll be able to, sort of eavesdrop in a halal way, of course, in the conversations that are ongoing. And I'll try to bring you up to speed about what's happening, what's not happening. So you know exactly if the moon is being sighted, not being sighted. By about 7:15 or 7:20, by that time, worst case by 7:30, if you go all the way up to Scotland, the moon would have set in the UK. So by 7:30, the moon would have set. We're not expecting any more positive sightings from the UK. If it's been negative up until that point, then we still wait for our regional partners. And that could be another half an hour, 45 minutes. So if we don't get anything from our regional partners either, then we will be able to conclude. We have our Shura meeting usually around 8:30. And when we have a Shura meeting around 8:30, it's been scheduled for 8:30. We will gather all the senior ulama, see what's on the table, and finally make a decision. If it's negative, then Friday will not be Eid. Friday will be the 30th of Ramadan. And as by consequence, Saturday will be the 1st of Shawwal, and it will be Eid. If, however, we've got a positive sighting from the UK tomorrow evening, inshallah, or from our regional partners, then inshallah we'll be able to declare Eid has started on that night, because it'll be Eid night. And obviously Friday will be Eid. What we will do, irrespective of what it is, is we will do the final 2 rukus in guidance for the guided, to complete this surah that we're actually on. So that's the plan, inshallah. Alhamdulillah for wifaqul Imam Musa. Barakallahu fiqh. May Allah bless you for your husn then and make dua for us. Mufti, if I understand correctly, to defend the country, regardless Muslim or not, is one considered shaheed in this case? Because what bothers me is Muslims end up killing Muslims to defend. If a person is defending their land, okay, and the other party are oppressors, then the oppressor is not a shaheed, but the one defending his land can be considered as a shaheed. Like, for example, if I'm at home and somebody breaks into my house, Muslims break into my house, and I'm protecting my family, my wife, my children, and I'm protecting my property. So I pick up some arms to defend myself, and I go on it and I defend myself, and I end up, dying in the process. Right? Well, if I've died in the process, then I'm a shaheed because I'm protecting what's mine. They are wrong if I end up killing them. Not that I'm condoning, killing someone, but just for the sake of this example, if I end up killing them, then they cannot be a shaheed. How can they be a shaheed? So, like what you're saying here, sister, is if there's a foreign a foreign group of people attacking somebody for no reason whatsoever, they're just attacking them, and those people are defending themselves, why would they be considered shaheed even if they're Muslim? Don't attack somebody. They should, like, for example, in the American war against Vietnam, there were many people who said, objectors, silent objectors, said, we're not going to go to war. And yes, they might have ended up in prison, but they did not go to war because they objected to it. They were conscious objectors. And similarly, in any army, if a person does not feel comfortable, he should object to it. And yes, it might be that he goes to prison, but he's not going to be guilty of killing someone for no reason whatsoever. Does that make sense, sister? I'll allow maybe a couple of seconds just to get back. Okay, brilliant. So I think that wraps things up. If there's no more, jazakallah khairan. Tune in tomorrow, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.